Well. Girlies, how the hell are you? It is so crazy, wild, and awesome to be doing this again. I'll admit it's also jarring and scary to be doing this alone. My name is Katie, and this is Rolling with Katie. On this show, I'm going to be talking about TV and movies and pretty much anything else that I want to talk about because it's my show. I am a film writer and director, and I lived in Los Angeles for 2 years, but I'm originally from Madison, Wisconsin. I love film and TV, and that is something that my best friend Michaela and I bonded over, all throughout our childhood and into our adulthood. We bonded over our shared love for movies and TV. We created the show Popcorn Chats to talk about the stuff that we wanted to talk about, and it was one of my favorite things ever for so many years. And if you are somebody that listened to Popcorn Chats, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to those episodes. They will forever remain available. That show means so much to me, and I know that Michaela would be okay with me saying that it means so much to her too. It was such a special time in our friendship and in our lives. So yeah, Michaela has graciously allowed me to continue on with this new show, utilizing the same YouTube channel and, Spotify uploading platform that we had used for Popcorn Chats over the years. It's been almost 3 years since we recorded what ended up being the last episode of Popcorn Chats. We've sporadically over the years gotten messages from people asking what happened to Popcorn Chats and why it stopped. And so I am going to do an entire episode kind of talking about that, talking about what I've been up to for the past several years. So much in my life has changed since my last check-in on the show with Michaela. It is sad that Popcorn Chats is no longer a show, but I'm really excited about this new show that I'm doing, and I'm really proud of myself for doing it. And I'm just appreciative of anybody who takes the time to listen. I appreciate all of you, whether you're new or returning, very much. Lastly, I'll just tease that Michaela has already agreed to be a guest on Rolling with Katie. So super jazzed about that. Maybe we'll have her on to talk about Euphoria. Maybe I'll have her on to talk about House of the Dragon season 3. Her and I never even talked about House of the Dragon season 2, and we barely even talked about House of the Dragon season 1, bro. We didn't even do episode by episode, which is so crazy. Can't believe it. You can just tell I wasn't in my right mind at that time. And maybe, I don't want to speak for Michaela, but maybe she wasn't either, because who was making those decisions? I am deciding to devote my first episode of Rolling with Katie, first episode of me, myself, and I. We're gonna talk about Euphoria, which is such a divisive show, and it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It doesn't mean anything to some people, but for me, it was like a catalyst in my life because it is what moved me to consider making a podcast and getting into this world. And, I saw promotions for season 3. I really just made the decision to get back into the show and really going full steam ahead so that I could cover this season episode by episode on a new show. Doing a show myself is something I've been thinking about doing for a while, pretty much ever since I moved back to Madison from Los Angeles. But I've always talked myself out of it. I'll get into that more in the next episode I put out. The hype around season 3, at least for me personally, it made it so apparent to me that I had to get back into this, which I think is really cool. And last night when I was watching it with my sister, we both just felt so weird, and she looked at me, and I think this kind of had something to do with the dialogue in the show and in this first episode of season 3, but she was like, this is just uncanny. This feels so surreal and weird. I described it as almost like a student short film. It kind of felt like I was back in college watching somebody show their film for review in class. A lot of the dialogue in the episode was line, stop, line, stop, line, stop. It was very not even eerie, just uncanny, like my sister said. And I was like, it's weird and strange to be watching this show again. So much has happened since it was last on, but also since the beginning. It's hard not to think about when Euphoria first came out in 2019 and how different the world was at that point. right down to these actors and the people attached to this show. They are so different. So much has happened in their lives. There's been so many scandals attached to Euphoria. Like I said before, it's such a divisive show. It's so saturated in our culture that it's just like really weird to be watching it in 2026 on my couch where I'm back in Madison. Like Michaela and I were watching the first season in her parents' basement. It's wild. I think a lot of people are experiencing this. Like, it's wild how long it takes these shows to come out. And I know that Euphoria has really had its struggles. They've lost actors and crew members and the writer's strike, COVID, but still, goddamn, like, that's what's wild about it. But you know what? This might be a hot take, but I think it was worth the wait. And I don't know if I'm just delusional and nostalgic and just happy to have a show that I'm excited about again and looking forward to Sundays. It's just like, it's nostalgic. Euphoria Sundays. I've never had a Euphoria Sunday with my sister. And now that I live back in Madison, we get to have Euphoria Sundays together. And last night was so dope. It was like thunderstorming here. It was just vibes. I'm hype about it. I'm going to enjoy it. I feel like I got really ahead of myself there. If y'all can't tell, I may have taken a special treat before the recording of this. If you have a bev, pour it out for Eric Dane and Angus Cloud and others who were attached to the show who have passed. Yeah. I can't remember if Angus Cloud had passed away before we recorded our last episode of Popcorn Chats. I feel like he did, and I feel like we may have addressed that, but if we didn't, like, obviously, so fucking tragic. Eric Dane passed away recently, and that is also just extremely tragic. So the Labyrinth tea is very interesting. I don't know a whole lot about that. I was obviously shocked when I saw his post on Instagram, and like, he is that show. The recap at the beginning, they used his music, but I low-key feel like that's going to be it, which is upsetting. Whoever music supervised this premiere episode of season 3 did a good job. I do feel like the lack of Labyrinth music was apparent. So that's just a bummer and interesting. And I will sing the praises of this show and give credit where credit is due. However, I do feel like there is some dark energy associated with Sam Levinson. I think he is spooky. There's also that story I feel like people have told me, and I think I read about it, where that woman, I forget, she was like an art director or something, like creative. She was hired on to be a creative director and created the vibe of Euphoria, like the colors and like the makeup, the glittery makeup, all of that. Shortly before it came out, they fired her. They were going to part ways, and she thought like, damn, that sucks, but good experience, whatever. Assuming they wouldn't use her designs. A couple weeks later, it came out and she saw the billboards and like was devastated because they had used her work but didn't give her any credit for it. If any of that is true, that hurts. That's literally so fucked, and I hope it's not true. I hope that that's just a rumor or story or whatever, but it might be, and I wouldn't be shocked. I just feel like Sam Levinson has some weird vibes around him. I'm not going to say that this show is perfect and the people attached to it are definitely not perfect, obviously. If you don't do a complete rewatch of Euphoria season 1 and 2, you'll still be fine to watch this episode. I thought about binging season 1 and 2 in preparation for this, and I decided not to. So much has changed, and they're not living in that same world and structure that was happening in season 1 and 2 anymore. Like, it's a completely different show. You just have to know these characters, and those characters are so memorable. So it was easy, really, to just watch the recap, which I thought they did amazing. Whoever edited that recap, hats off to you, go off. I thought it made sense where everybody was at. I didn't have any questions about like the plot structure of each of their individual lives or like the life circumstances that these characters have been placed in. I do have other questions. Don't get me wrong. With what Rue is doing right now, it makes so much sense. I'm so glad this show didn't take like a cop-out route out of the Lori suitcase fiasco from season 2. That was one of the biggest questions that was left after that season. This is what I mean by I'm gonna give hats off. And this is bare fucking minimum, but I just feel like what we're dealing with in Hollywood nowadays, it's all just like running data and plot lines through AI to see what plot line will get the most views. And this choice to make her a literal drug mule was the most obvious choice, and I think makes the most sense. It also like opens up a huge can of stories that you can use and put this beloved character into. It has been so long, but me personally, I felt like I was able to settle right back into where we left off. Everything just felt very authentic and flowing. I don't think all the credit goes to Sam Levinson for that. I think these actors are extremely good at what they do. Immediately at the beginning of the episode was enamored with Rue again. I love this character. Zendaya's won an Emmy for this role. She shines in this role. Again, that's not something that has diminished with this long break that the show has taken. Rue is like a cartoon character that happens to be a drug addict. The fucking truck teetering over the Mexican border, the disregard for her own life puts her in these like comedic cartoon-like situations, but it's like funny to watch but also hard to watch at the same time. Regarding Sam Levinson, he does have the lived experience of a drug addict, and I think that that is the strongest part of Euphoria, is his ability to portray what it's like to be a drug addict and how a person who is addicted to drugs acts. I think he does a great job of showing the harsh reality of being an addict, but also he's created this character, and I think Zendaya also has played a huge role in creating the character of Rue, but creating a lovable character who people are more or less rooting for, even when she makes bad decisions, even when she is not the best person to other people. She has this personality that's so lovable and so fun to watch Zendaya play. Going back to that though, one of my biggest freaking questions with this premiere was, is Rue still a drug addict? Am I dumb for that? Like, does anybody know? My sister didn't know. We saw her smoke weed, but I feel like that would clear a lot of things up. We didn't see her doing any drugs. She didn't address how hard it is to drug mule and be an addict at the same time. So are we to assume that she is clean at the moment? If that's the case, then I question some of her behavior. I know she's also like mentally ill too. She's very like high functioning, high achieving. I think it's hilarious that she's like Lori's best mule. Like, she excels in whatever she does. It just like, because like she hasn't had support in certain areas because of her childhood trauma, like stuff she's gone through, she just like hasn't found herself in a good situation. If she's not doing like hard drugs, why is she acting like that? I'm not talking about her antics like trying to get over the border and back and bringing Faye into it. I'm talking about like when she goes to that mansion to do that run and meets that guy in the cowboy hat who says he is in the business of why the hell is she like leering at those girls? And here's my thing. Any woman who goes into a situation where she's, you know, meant to be doing a job, whatever, and then a man is like, I major in the business of and is like talking about your being very predatory like that, you're not like, hey, I want to work for you. Women immediately are like, oh, I might be in danger right now. Rue isn't clued into that at all. If she's a drug addict, I buy that. If she's on not weed, off like a benzo, like that would explain that. But why is she like suddenly wanting to be a pimp? Her thing, like a character attribute and flaw of Rue's, is that she disregards her own life. That's why she gets herself into bad situations, is because she doesn't think critically. But the fact that she doesn't like come to pause at all or realize like the danger that she's in, and then on top of it, she's being kind of like misogynistic. That's not how lesbians act. Cause now it's like you're being a caricature a little bit. You and your buddy Sam Levinson are like putting on a show of what you think lesbians are, and that's when people like, that's why people get canceled. This is why people say like only gay people should play gay people. And I love gay Zendaya. Like I love her down. I love when she comes out. But for me, like, I wish gay Zendaya would have been her eating that girl out, that daughter that was in the Christian family. Where's that gay Zendaya? I knew that they weren't gonna be brave and end that scene with Rue going down on that girl who's clearly like curious about the world and definitely clearly checking Rue out. Also, why was she so hot? That's my thing about Sam Levinson. Why'd she look like that? Why is he doing that? He's weird. I don't know a single lesbian that would prioritize getting over their own safety in like a situation like that. Not to be all soapboxy and woke, but that really turned me off because the representation that we get with Rue's character, it has been very meaningful to me over the years, especially watching the first season as a closeted girly, but I don't appreciate the like growing out with that guy. What do we think about that Christian family that she is like hyper fixated on. I think that that's really interesting. I like how this show makes commentary about the cultural moment without being super heavy handed on it. Some people argue that it's too extreme, all the dicks in season 1 in that one episode. You know, people being like, there's not a single goddamn high school in America that is this off the shit. Like, there's no way, bro. But okay, it's TV. This show has always held a mirror up in a way to like the cultural moment, talking about millennials and like growing up post 9/11, school shootings, social media, nudes, like a very realistic picture of what it's actually like. The show has always done that. I appreciate that even now in season 3, it's still doing that in many ways through going back and forth across the border. I think is super palpable, topical for what's going on at present. The comment that that Christian dad on the border of Texas made, you know, these MAGA people. The show doesn't take a super firm stance anywhere. I thought it was also funny when Lexi was like, I would never be friends with a Christian because they're super judgmental. Again, I do feel like that's poking fun at woke liberals in Los Angeles. Even with Cassie's storyline and like the OnlyFans situation and even her and Nate's relationship dynamic, which we can get into more. This kind of regression of women having agency over their lives and this return to like traditional marriage, but then really getting into the fact that like that's not achievable anymore, even for like the most privileged among us. Like Nate comes from money and inherited this business. They have this amazing house, but like if both people aren't working and if women should return home and to like be homemakers, you can't maintain that lifestyle. I think that's a very real reality for a lot of people. Obviously Nathan and Cassie are like trying to live this luxe lifestyle. I think they both need that, but they can't make ends meet because they're trying to be like this traditional couple where the man works and the woman stays home and is devoted to him and doesn't do anything. And so this like struggle for agency in a world of like OnlyFans and hypersexualization and sex is everywhere, but also we're supposed to keep it contained. It's just two very like polarized ends of how we view like sexuality in this country and in the world. And I felt like Nate and maybe I'm giving it way too much credit, but it had me thinking about all that shit. And I'm like, damn, this is like real for some people. Like this is genuinely like what, and I hope like not a lot of people, but I think a lot of straight couples deal with what's going on with Nathan and Cassie to a degree. I think it's a very extreme example. I don't know. Maybe I'm not one to talk about straight people. I don't think the storyline is crazy. I think the storyline is good. I think the way he had her in that dog fucking costume on all fours saying woof woof and then him grabbing the leash, and I'm like, are you gay or not, bro? Like, is Rue doing drugs? And is Nathan, is he is Nathan is Nathan gay or not? There were so many other things I wanted to say, but let's reel it in. I think it's interesting that they're freaky like that. I think that's fine. I think that's great. But is he gay or not? Is that still a thing or not? Did we forget about that? Maybe they'll address it eventually. I hope they do. But if they breeze over that, that's crazy. Back to Cassie and the dog situation. That's insane. I don't think they needed to do that. I think Sam Levinson is just like sick in the head a little bit. Yeah, I couldn't stop. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's insane. And then they also had her say, I don't want my wedding to be ghetto. The fact that they made Sydney Sweeney say that in the year 2026 on Euphoria season 3 episode 1 is insane, but also a little bit hilarious. I don't know. I said they're holding up a mirror. So yeah, when I say it makes sense that some of these characters are where they're at in these life scenarios that they've been put in, I think for Sydney Sweeney in particular, it makes a lot of sense just for her as a person as well to be in a right wing, what did they say? Right wing neighborhood. I don't know. I think she'll be able to play the part well. And it'll be interesting to see where that all leads. But yeah, I just want to know if Nate is still thinking about dick like that. I really could have done without them swallowing those balloons, that was jarring. I was gagging, they were gagging. My heart was pounding for them when they were at the border. Like I said before, Sam Levinson really does a great job of portraying that reality. That's so scary about like the balloons popping inside people and then having them OD. Like that's just what I mean, you know? We care so much about Rue and it's like, why is she doing these stupid things? My sister was like, I literally can't watch her anymore. Like she's stressing me out. And I don't quite feel that way. I know she's always gonna pull through, but it's also like, you know, the show is so realistic and it does take risks sometimes. Sometimes it's so realistic, not all the time. I could see them killing her off at the end of this. I'm also like, why does she just think that Lori's gonna let her go? Why is she like, oh, like, let me get a job here? Like, these characters don't make good decisions. And if they did, it wouldn't be a good show, whatever. There's so much that you could do with Rue and her circumstances and everything. Why is she now gonna get involved with another shady individual after everything she's been through? Again, if she's doing drugs, maybe this changes things, but I didn't see her do anything hard. Why does she think that this man isn't just gonna, maybe he'll buy Rue away from Lori, but then she's just gonna owe him. And I would much rather owe money to Lori, no offense, than this man who says his business is in. I'm scared. So yeah, she does make me freak out a little bit, but that's what she's supposed to do. But I do need to know if she's doing drugs. Like, come on with the story. You gotta let the people know. Can't believe nobody clocked that. Maybe we're not supposed to know, but I can't think of a reason why. Am I being dumb? Let me know in the comments. If I'm being stupid, please let me know. I don't have a whole lot of other things to talk about. I feel like I touched on a lot of things. I feel like I word vomited a lot. I would just love to hear what other people have to say about this first episode. I could be like completely out of the loop on some things, so let me know if you have different opinions. I love to discourse and discuss. I really love that Faye is back. I do think that it's insane that Sam Levinson found her the way that he did. I'm not going to talk about that on here, but if you want to look that story up, you can. It's disgusting. But I do love that actress. I think she plays this character so well. Love that she's back. Going back to Nate and Cassie. I got the sense in like all the press and promotion for this that Jacob Elordi was checked out. I think a lot of people got that impression. But maybe I'm offbeat on this just because I love that man down so bad. He makes me think I might be bi a little bit. So maybe I'm blinded. I thought he stepped back into this character really well. It's interesting that he is not as scary as he was in high school. Obviously, he's screaming on the poster of this season. Like, obviously, he's gonna get there. And we saw little hints of it. He was so rude and so mean and scary to their cleaning woman. But he hasn't yet reached that like crazy aggression level yet, unless I'm forgetting. But yeah, so I'll be interested to see like his character kind of come out more. But I felt like his possessiveness was very reminiscent of his character in season 1 and 2. How nasty he is. Like he's just such a bitch. Like he is gay. He's so mean to Maddie and to Cassie. Like he hates women, you know, and I think that's a journey for a lot of gay men, is being kind of nasty to women like that. And he's a brat. So he's a diva, but I like their power struggle. And I talked about that before with how things are now with money and just like the economy. People can't afford shit, and you can tell that Nathan feels very like emasculated almost, and you can tell that he realizes that and knows that he needs Cassie to kind of be his little trophy wife. And if she were to leave him, like that would be a bad look on his image. He's kind of going through this turmoil because he can't make enough money to keep his wife at home and like have this like power and possession over her, and to like make their house look better and like make her happy and contented the way that she could or wants to make money. Like he also feels emasculated by that. And Cassie did say the line, "Don't underestimate me." So I'm excited. I thought that was a great line to have her character say to kind of set the tone for the season. I do feel like I really underestimated her in season 2. I think mostly that's just because Cassie in that season did not pan out the way that I thought she would. Season 1 Cassie versus season 2 Cassie just feel like very different. Now that I've like settled into who Cassie is, and also just like the downfall of Sydney Sweeney, it's way easier to place her as the character that she's playing in the show. I don't know how else to say that. I like that they kind of need each other, unfortunately. feel like I was calling him Nathan a lot this episode. It's just Nate. Or were they calling him Nathan in this episode? I don't know. My bad. Another gripe that I have with this premiere is, where the hell are all the hot people? Where are the hottest people on this show? Maddie had barely any screen time, and then where the fuck is Jules? And why is that her character? Like, again, am I being stupid? Let me know. But why is she a sugar baby? Even in the promo for this, I was like, why is she going after like rich older men? Like, she doesn't have daddy issues, right? Like, and I'm not saying you have to have daddy issues to be a sugar baby, but Sam Levinson, can you not write trans women who are just like not fucking old men? The situations that he writes trans women into is not my favorite. It gives me the ick. I'm pretty sure that the plan for season 2 was to have Nate and Jules have a secret relationship that he was like hiding from Maddie. But then Hunter Schafer and Jacob Elordi had that falling out. Hunter Schafer refused to work with him, so they had to rewrite it and make Cassie the secret relationship. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I think that's really interesting. But also, like, so is he like not gay? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I need a Nate episode, low key. Like, I want to know what's going on there. We'll find out more. Like, she wasn't even in this episode, so hopefully, I'm proved wrong. I know that Hunter Schafer has had a role in shaping this character, so I know that it's not all Sam Levinson like choosing what happens with her character. And I don't completely hate everything that has happened with Jules's character. I just feel like it's not just this character with Sam Levinson's filmography. He has a tendency to put trans women in like violent, compromising, traumatizing, you name it, situations. Not saying again that this sugar baby storyline is going to be super dark, but it's just like, haven't we already have had that story with Jules? Not necessarily her being Cal's sugar baby, but like that type of relationship. Like, maybe Sam Levinson is achieving commentary on OnlyFans and money and female autonomy with Nate and Cassie. I think if he were to double down with a relatively similar storyline for Jules, I feel like that would be a lot of commentary on that specific aspect of our culture. I'm very intrigued. I'm very interested to see what happens with Jules's character and to see what her life is set up as. I didn't talk about Lexi a whole lot this episode, but I think it obviously makes sense that she's doing what she's doing in Los Angeles. It made me miss LA a lot. This whole show does. It makes me miss living out there. If you want to hear more about why I don't live out there anymore, tune in to the next episode, because I'm going to do one massive check-in episode and talk about what I've been doing for literally the past 3 years. Maybe you don't care, but I'm going to tell you anyways. I think that's it for this episode. Cannot believe that I am doing this. I can't believe that I'm watching Euphoria, and I can't believe that you're still listening to this episode. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me and giving me a chance to talk about this show that, for better or worse, I do love at the end of the day and have a very nostalgic connection to. If you are a former Popcorn Chest listener, thank you so much for the support and the love that you have shown to Michaela and I the past several years that we haven't been recording, and all the years that we were recording. We had so much fun doing that show. Again, I will talk more about what happened there and why we're not doing the show anymore in the next episode. I do just want to say thank you so much for your support then and now. I will be doing another episode on Euphoria, covering the next episode of this season. Can't wait to talk to you then. Can't wait to see what's going to happen. Thank you all so much. Lilas.